doing the reason why we're going to do this, we're going to try to build on some of your basic knowledge of xLights and help you enhance your sequencing. We're going to take a deep look at some selected topics. One thing I will tell you on this one is that because it's not, it's a little more disparate. What I mean by that is we're going to cover multiple things. It's a longer session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for questions at the end of each section. That way you don't have to remember them to the end, and you can get it answered while it's still relevant, still fresh on your mind. So it's anyway, in terms of the mechanics of what we're doing, it'll be a little bit different this time. As we covered before, and again, this is for all the right-brainers out there, sequence is really just problem solving. And we went through the various steps of setting it up. If you weren't able to attend it and are curious about that, once they have the videos up, you can visit that. The nice thing about these virtual Christmas summits is the information is out there for a long time. And I still go watch them from time to time when I'm covering something new, so they're good to have. All right, so I want to talk to you. We're going to start talking about render order. And the reason I want to talk about this, and I kind of consider it an intermediate thing, because the render order ultimately determines what people are going to see when they, ultimately what they're going to see when they look at your sequence. The important thing to remember is on all the props, all the props you have, is that the bottom is going to trump the top. The same is also true for individual models in the submodels. So what you'll want to do is you always want to make your larger groups go on the top. And the way you do this is you're going to set up your master file. So let me get over here. I'm going to share over to my xLights. Okay, we should be able to see my xLights. Yep, there we are. Okay, this is, I've got it set up for the intermediate sequencing. I'm going to go over to the sequencer. I'm going to show you how to get your master file set up. All right, so we're over here. I'm going to go to File, create a new sequence, and I'm just going to do an animation sequence, just so we can get in here and manipulate our master file a little bit. All right, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Edit Display Elements. It's down at the bottom, and I select that. And you'll see here I have the master view. That's the only view that I have here. And you will see there that it's listed. It's got my groups at the top, and then it's got various individual models down there at the bottom. What we want to do is we actually want to clone this, and I typically call mine my view. You can call it whatever you want, but I call it my view. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit the my view. I'm going to take out a couple of things that I don't really have anything in there. Let's see what else. It's easier, I think, if I just take all these things. I'm going to take all the individual things and I'm going to move them to the left, except for the individual props I've got here that I'm going to sequence to. Okay, I'm going to take that like that. And then I'm going to right click on the items. I'm going to tell it to sort by name, but groups at top by size. So it's going to put my groups all at the top, and the ones that are the larger ones will be at the top, and the smaller ones, and then the individual props are down at the very bottom. Okay, so now what I've done is I've created my view, and I'm going to take that my view and I'm going to click make master. Now you'll only do this the first time because we're right in the middle of something. But what it does, if you go over here and you look now, the master and my view are identical. All right, so I'm going to X out of that. I'm going to clear out of that. Now I want you to go over to File and Preferences. Okay, when the preferences come up, go over to Sequences, the Sequences tab. That's the fourth tab from the left. And there's a drop-down box for Default View for New Sequences. And you're going to make it My View. Now, by doing that, you won't have to go in and modify that anymore because, and I'll show you here, I'll close this sequence, discard the changes. I'm going to go to the layout. I'm going to make sure this is saved because that goes into the layout information, what we just changed. I'm going to go over to the sequencer. I'm going to tell it File, New Sequence, Animation, 40 frames per second, Quick Start. All right, you'll see over here, it's My View. It is the view that's over on the left. If I switch it over to the master view, okay, then it's already modified. So you'll want to do that so that you have your groups and your props set up the way that you want. The reason why you want the larger groups at the top, let's say, for example, if I come over here and I'm going to go to the layout real quick, I'm going to select all that and I'm going to make a group that I call, right click, create a group. Let's call that everything, all props, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now I've got everything made up of that. I'm going to save it. Go back over to the sequencer. Go back to the edit display elements. Okay, and you'll see here that everything was not automatically added. So I'm going to automatically add it. Okay, it adds down to the bottom. I'm going to right click, tell it to sort again by name, but by size. Should put the everything at the top. It didn't. It recognized the spinners for whatever reason being a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to move it to the top. In my view, I'm going to do the same thing. Add the everything to it. Move it all the way to the top. Okay. Now, you'll see here, everything's up at the top. And the reason why we do this, let's say we put something on the everything. Let me just put in a timing mark. And we're going to put, let me put something silly on there, spirals. And we will make it per model default. Okay, so now if you look at what we've got, bring this down here so you can see it. Okay, kind of ugly, but you'll see that the spiral is on everything, all the props going at once. All right, so dock that model preview. But now we want to add something different, let's say on the Megatree star. So let's come down here and we're going to put a fan on the Megatree star. And we're going to change the colors. Make that all the way. Okay, you'll see there because I put on a fan at the top because it was below the everything. It trumps what's in the everything command. So you can put something on the everything. Let's say you want to put snowflakes or something like that on there. And you want that to trump that. You can just, because the render order is correct, you can just put something on the megatree star and it's going to do it. If we delete that, render it real quick. Okay, you'll see there we're back to the spirals on there. So what's on the bottom is going to trump what's on the top, and that has to do with the render order. And if your render order is out of whack, for example, if you put the everything down below, well, it doesn't matter what you have on the stars or your, whatever you have, it does not matter because what's going to happen is it's not going to render properly for you or the way you want it to. So what you want to do is you want to go in, you want to create a master file, and you kind of want to take control of that because the bottom is going to trump the top. Now, remember I said also, if you go into, say, a submodels. Now, this one has a bunch of submodels, and I've got them numbered on this one simply because the language doesn't get you where you want to be. But you'll see here, everything that I've got is, that is big is on the top, and as you go down in the list, it gets smaller and smaller as to what is affected. And the reason why I do that is because when you are sequencing and you're using submodels, you can put something on a larger submodel up at the top and then put something on a smaller submodel that's underneath it. And again, you'll get that same effect where the bottom trumps the top. So if you get into creating submodels, go in and look at them, and I will tell you the vast majority of the Coro providers, when they provide you submodels, they're not in the right order. All right. A lot of times you will see where smaller are above the larger ones. And what's going to happen is if you ever have something on two of those submodels, the one that's on the bottom is going to trump it, and you're never going to see what's going on the smaller model. All right, so larger goes on the top. Make sure you set it up. All right, so now let's talk about layering a little bit. Let me go back over to my sequencer over here. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to pick on my mega tree. It's down there at the bottom on the left. And if you right click, you can insert a layer above, a layer below, or let's insert some multiple layers. Let's go ahead and insert, say, 6 layers there. All right, so now we've got all these layers here that we can do something with. I'm going to split up this timing mark here, do something at 15 seconds. All right, so now we've got the mega tree. Let me add on a spiral. And we're just going to make it a red spiral. I'm going to go over to the effect settings. Let me get it docked the way I like it. Maybe. There we go. All right, so we've got now our effect settings. And I'm going to reduce the size of this down a little bit. I'm going to increase the reps. So now I've got a little spiral going across. I'm going to up the movement a little bit. Okay, and if we go in and look at the layer blending, gotta Gotta find it somewhere. Okay, looks like we lost it, but anytime you lose a window, you can go back and change the perspective, and go to the windows and tell it to reset to defaults. And then you'll get back all the windows. Occasionally, for whatever reason, I think it's a function of Zoom, I lost something here. So okay, I got it set the way I want. I'm going to set it as the default. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now I've got this on there. And if you go to the layer blending, and I'm going to pull this dialog out. Remember the way that you pull out a dialog, and to keep it from docking, you'll hold down the control key. And what I'm going to show you here, this one is set to normal. Okay, there's a whole bunch here. When you click on it, you'll get a listing of what all the different different layerings do there. All right, so that one's set to normal. So let me take this. I'm going to go over. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to grab it from here, and maybe there we go. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to the layer settings, and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Okay, now I've got both of them going one direction. Let me change this one down here at the bottom to a green. Okay, you'll notice that although the green is below where the red is on top. The reason why is because over here it's set to normal. Now, if I take that and I change it to layered, okay, now you'll see that the green is on top because we told it take one, and then whatever comes in underneath it is actually going to be dominant on what you've got there. Okay, so there are other settings out there that are important to know. For example, if you tell it effect 1, okay, now we've just got effect 1, effect 2 is not showing up. But there's a slider up here. If I start playing with that slider and start moving it slowly over, you'll see that the second effect starts to show up. And you can slide it all the way over to where it's dominant. So that a slider lets you move back and forth and kind of mix things. Now, this is just for illustrative purposes, but I'll tell you where this is really cool is, let's say you've got an image that you've laid on there, and you want to have the image but not have it dominate. You have some other things going on. I did something one time, had a for another project, had a werewolf on the tree. Obviously it was Halloween, and there were some explosions, fireworks going on, and I wanted those things mixed, so we did that. Now, if you choose effect 2, going to do kind of the same thing. Is that right there? Okay, so let me change this second one. I'm going to change it over to a solid, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it over to everybody's favorite butterfly. And you'll see there, little different effect. Okay, but now let's put it where 1 is the mask. Okay, when something is a mask, what it basically does is it blocks out. When you say 1 is a mask, the spirals that are on 1 are blocking out part of that butterfly. So let's increase the thickness, and you'll see that, you know, it blocks out more. Okay, if we do 2 as mask, okay, we're not going to get anything with that just because of the way the masking works. We can do 1 as an unmask, and when it's unmasked, it blocks out everything except for the effect on layer 1. And And so you can add the thickness in there. That's kind of neat. Um, you can do where 2 is unmasked, and we get a lot of white with that, but we do get, the reason why it does that is just simply because that unmask led to the next 2 variations. You see how that white's showing through? That's not the result that most people want. So if we change that from, where are we at? So if we change that from normal to 2 is a true unmask. Oops, didn't change it on that one. Okay, we lose the white when we do that. We change it to 1 is a true unmask. You see, we lose the white that was there before. 1 reveals 2. 2 reveals 1. We're not getting anything there. Shadow of 1 on 2. Okay, you'll see that 1 is there. And what happens is we start to get kind of a mix of them. And you can kind of see, let me make this a little bigger. All right, when we do 1 as a shadow there, if you change the colors, doesn't really have an impact. 2 on 1, you can see that it does impact. A little bit, you can faintly see that some of the colors are changed by that butterfly effect. Change that to normal. We've done layered. Okay, let's look at average. What average does is average actually mixes the colors that we find in 1 with the colors on 2. And by changing the colors, you'll see that the colors actually do change with what we get. Bottom and top splits the 2. Then you got top left, right. It'll split the 2 vertically. Additive is kind of interesting because what additive will do is it adds the colors to it. And then another one that we've got is subtractive, where it deletes values from what's on the second layer. And brightness gives us that effect. Max adds in, but only where layer 1 is. And minimum will subtract the values out. So each one of those layers do different things on the prop. The ones that I use the most, I use normal, I use layered, I use average. 1 is true unmask and 2 is true unmask. But there's a neat thing you can do, and let me show you. I'm working on a project right now for Halloween. Let me get to it, and I'll show you what I did so you can see how it can be used. All right, this is something that I added to my mega tree. And what I did, and I'll get to the structure here. And I will show you, and I'm focused right here on these 2 effects on the mega tree. The first one is a VU meter, and it's a level pulse color. And I've got it set to, what it does is it listens to the music and will pulse according to the music itself. Over that, I just laid a video that has that background. Let me pull up this model so you can see it. Maybe. All right, so when I play this, okay, what we're doing is we're getting the pulse, and it's affecting the video that's underneath it. So instead of having to go in and add all the timing marks and try to adjust the color of that video, I just put something underneath it that handles that. I set it on the layer blending so that it's subtractive. In other words, whatever the value that I've got here subtracts from whatever is on the video. So that's a way that you can use that, just kind of give you an idea of how that might apply. You could do the same thing with additive. It's just kind of a neat way to actually do that. Now, let me show you some other examples. This is another. I'm going to change back over to where we were. Okay, and I'm going to create a new sequence, musical sequence. I'm going to go pick the song that I had set aside. I'm going to call it up, 40 frames per second. Click start it. I'm not going to do the structures right now, but I am going to add a timing track and put in some beats. Okay, so now we've got some beats. Let me go down to the mega tree. Figure out where we start. All right, so here's something that I like to do, and it kind of shows you how layering can be used. Let me go on the mega tree. I'm going to add a bunch of layers. I might add a bunch and just delete them later on. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add in the twinkle effect. Need to change the palette. And I'm going to do white and red and pink or fuchsia. I'm going to change the percent of lights on that to 100%. And I'll show you why I'm going to do that here in a minute. I'll keep the twinkle steps probably around 20. It's happening very quick. All right, that's a lot to take in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to change that to the render style on that. I'm going to change it where 2 is a true unmask. It's crazy how much zoom slows everything down. All right. Now I'm going to drop in a wave. And you'll see when I drop the wave in, okay, now I've got this weird little wave thing going on. All right, so I'm going to increase the height so it takes up most of the tree. Put it at about 90. I'm going to increase the thickness a little bit, let's say to 15. And let me Okay, that's way too slow for the music. I'm going to double it, see what we get. Still a little slow. I'm going to try to get it to hit at the top every time there's a clap. We'll see if we can do that. Okay, so now my wave is showing that. Make it a little bigger so you can see it. Okay, you see it's peaking at the clap every time it's going through. All right, so we've got that one there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it above that. Okay, you see that it right now it just basically overwrote it completely. I'm going to change that to that fuchsia color, and I am going to change the layer blending from normal. I'm going to change it to layered. Okay, now we have back our sparkles that are there. So what I'm going to do on that wave up above, I'm going to increase the thickness from 16, oops, got a little carried away, to 20. You really can't see it, so I'm going to change it to white. Okay, and you'll see now that what's happened is, yes, we have that nice little sparkle, but now our wave has a border on it, a border all the way around it. And you can do this. Let me copy that, paste that, paste it here. And make that one on top layered so it shows everything underneath. Okay, so we got everything underneath there. And again, I'm going to increase the thickness to 18. And now I'm going to switch the directions. I'm going to make it from left to right. Got to do it on both of them. Okay, so now we have these kind of bouncing to the music. Neat little effect. One of the things I'll show you here, okay, I'm going to need some room above. I've got the room behind it, above it. So I'm going to highlight all these things. I'm just hitting the arrow down, and all it does is it shifts them down a little bit. Just so you know, that's what I did there. Okay, so let me reverse things a little bit. Let me take this one, and I'm going to make the thickness 20 and 20. Now, these are the ones that are below it. And then I'm going to change these from layered. Oops. Anytime you do something like that where you accidentally shift an effect, if you'll just hit Control Z, it'll move it back into position for you. All right, so now I'm going to take that from layered to normal. Okay, didn't get them big enough for where we can really see it. So I'm going to reduce these down in size a little bit. Okay, now the center part is solid and we have the sparkles around the edge. So what I'm going to do so that you can see this, I'm going to take these and I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to bulk edit it and reduce the speed down, not because it matches the music, but just so you can see more of what's on the effect. Okay, so this is a real neat way that you can use layering and change the effects you have. You can come down here, these ones on the bottom, and you can really make those big. And it will extend out the sparkle, the glitter, if you do that. So you get some really neat effects by messing with the layering a little bit. Okay, any questions about that? I'll open it up before we move on from layering. So any questions that anybody has? One of the questions was, what does the raw video look like? The raw video is basically a silhouette of a man with a light background, dropping to his knees and praying. So it has no flickering or anything to it. The background is solid, but it is a silhouette.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have. All right, Michael, looks like nothing, so.
Okay. All right, so next thing let's talk about transitions. Transitions, when we come to the layer blending, let me go over here, pull this out so you can see it. Okay, the transitions themselves allow you to horizontally go from one place to the next. I mean, one effect to the next. So I'm going to delete what we've got here. Take those out. I'm just going to put in a probably just a spiral again on the tree. Okay, good variety. On the thickness, I'm going to drop the thickness down just so we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, and I will make it 3D just because I like the way 3D looks, for no other reason. All right, so we've got that there. And when we talk about transitions, one of the ways that we can do it is to fade in, fade out. Fade is the most common. You'll see here in the layer blending, you have an in transition and an out transition. Okay, the in transition, if you just add in a transition, you'll see there, see that green? That tells me, okay, that's a 1 second in transition. And on the fade, I can do a 1 second out transition. Let me shorten this down so we don't have to watch as much. See, it fades in and then it fades out. Real simple. But one that works really well, and this is one of my favorites, is the wipe. So I'm going to change both of these to the wipe, where I've got a 1 second wipe and an in and a 1 second wipe out. Okay, and you'll see that it comes in, drops in, and then drops back out. Let me adjust that timing just a little bit. Okay, so kind of like that. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it a few times. All right, so this is what we get. Drops in, back out. Okay, so that's where you can use a transition as actually part of the effect itself. And you can do that with lots of things. The ones that I like the wipe. I like the circular swirl. I like the shatter and the swap. They're all good, but when you're talking about making it part of the effect itself, it really works well when you do things like that. So let me select all 4 of these here. And one of the things that's really handy is that you can bulk edit transitions. Okay, I'm going to change that to shatter, out transition, bulk edit, change it to a shatter. Okay, so now let me take all those and I'm going to increase the thickness, bulk edit the thickness on that so you can see the shatter a little better. Okay, so now what's happened is that transition has actually become part of the effect itself. And that goes beyond just the fade in and fade out and stuff like that. And really, again, you're just whatever you try it, see if you like it, see if it works. Some things work. Sometimes I'll try something and it just doesn't work for me, and so I won't use it. Okay, let me call this up. I'm going to discard the changes. This one, the reason why I wanted to show you this one, because this one is really handy. I went in and I put in some timing marks. And what these timing marks are just where, like I said, I think things are going to change. Okay, so I'm going to just throw in some things here. I'm going to take candy canes. Let's put a spiral on the candy canes. I have to change that to a per model default. And I'm going to increase the spirals just so it looks pretty good. I'm going to eliminate at this point. I'm going to eliminate those transitions. Okay, so we've got this. Needs to be a little bit faster for the music. All right, so we've got that. And let me go down here and add, this on a spinner. We will do that as a group. So per model default, 6 arms on there, make it thick, give it a 3D. All right, so that's our spinners. And come down here. Let's put, let's put that on our mini trees. We'll put a level effect on our stars, mini tree stars. Oops, wrong place. I'll get it right eventually. Okay. I'm going to change that VU meter to timing event pulse color. I'll make it a little slower than the default. So now those should level event, level pulse color. Okay, now it's going to change, but I'm just going to make it white on those. All right, so when I'm sequencing and I do a section like this, what I'll do is I'll decide, okay, what kind of transition do I want coming into that section and going out of the section? So what I'll do is I'll highlight the whole thing, right? And then what I'll do is I will bulk edit the transition. So let's do circle explode. We'll make that bulk edit. We're going to make that time. Let's do it 3/4 of a second. Out transition. Let's bulk edit that. And we'll make it a, let me see. Let's just make it a dissolve. And again, I will make it bulk edit for a second. Okay, now, when I hit OK, it's going to add those transitions to everything. The reason why I point that to you is because it's going to give you a sequencing efficiency like you would not believe. Because instead of when you're setting up the effects, going in and setting up the in transition and the out transition, and then you're all the way at the bottom and you can't see what's going up on above, trying to figure out what's going on. or what you did previously, if you will do your in and out transitions for each section as you go, it saves you literally, probably 30 minutes on every sequence. Plus, it gives you tremendous consistency on your transitions. Those things are just really, really important. Get it over here, we'll see. Okay, so everything kind of, we did the circle transition there. Okay, and it dissolved out. All right, so when you're sequencing, if you will wait till you're done with a section, highlight all the effects in that section, and then put your in and out transitions, it ends up creating a better sequence for you. Anyway, let me ask you at this point, let me stop and ask, are there any questions before we go to the next section?
Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. Michael, there is a question in chat. Do you have to have layer blending on all levels props?
No, I mean, you can just have a single effect, and you don't have to have layer blending. No. Oh, you're talking about, I know what he's talking about. Are you talking about up here, if you go to the sequence settings, where it says allow blending between models? I usually like to have that one checked, particularly if I'm doing big effects. A lot of times what I'll do, I like to switch between, a whole house effect to individual effects. And if you do that, if you will check that, it allows you to do that. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, but that is another parameter that you can select. Okay, anybody else have something? Like I said, just mute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. My question is pretty simple. Thank you for your time. Are the speakers for each of the classes, are they going to be available for questions afterwards?
I make myself available. I can't speak for anyone else, but I certainly will be. The best way to get in touch with me, you can call me. My phone number is on our website. It's 417-350-3061. Again, 417-350-3061. And if I'm not tied up with someone, I will answer.
Thank you.
Hey, Michael, there was a schedule change that we realized, and this is going from 1 to 3, and you already did a class before that. So A, it's going till 3, right?
Yeah.
B, do you want a 5-minute break, or should we continue?
What I think what I'll do is I will continue, because I've got some things. I just want to make sure I get through everything.
Perfect. Up to you.
But for people that are sitting at home, if you need a potty break, don't do the pee-pee dance. Just get up and go, because if you miss something, it will be recorded, and it is being recorded, and you can come back later and catch anything that you miss.
So as a general rule, do you transition out of every section versus, I guess, a hard transition, off, on, boom, boom, versus a easy, gradual gradient, slide in, slide out, up, down?
Totally driven by the music. In other words, if it's fast paced, chances are I'm not going to transition at all. It's going to be a direct cut over from effect to effect. If it is a slow song, generally the slower the song, in that position, that point, the longer the transition. It seems to work better. The other thing I will do more in a slower song is I will overlap a little more. What I mean by that is, okay, if I put an effect, say over here, I'll add a row, I'll add a layer below, and put that in there, maybe. There you go. And what I might do is overlap that a little bit. See where I'm overlapping the start of the second one at the end of the next one. And so if it's a slow song, I'll have a longer transition and I'm more likely to overlap. Faster songs, the slower the transitions need to be. Medium paced. Usually what I'll look at on a medium paced song is somewhere, 0.2 of a second. The way that I'll make a decision, and this is pretty easy, you sit there and you watch it, and if you're watching it and when it transitions, if it jars you, you need a transition there. You know what I mean? If it makes you uncomfortable, and I will sit there and watch it, and I hadn't planned to put a transition there, but just the change from one to the next doesn't look quite right for whatever reason. So I might do a short fade out, fade in, or transition there to keep it from being jarring. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm from a DJ world, so I understand like beat mixing versus just slam in, slam outs, and same type of theory.
Yeah, my training background was MTV, just so you know. I'm old enough that they actually played videos when I first started watching it.
Music killed the video star.
Yeah, it did.
Hey, Michael, and Jeff confirmed that he was actually talking about the same transitioning that you just stopped in
Okay,
here.
yeah.
So, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just remember, the slower the song, the longer the transitions, quicker the song, the shorter the transitions, if you use them at all. Like I said, and you can use those transitions as part of your effects, and make it where people are, oh, that's cool, because it looks like you're doing some neat things. Okay.
Hey,
any
Michael.
other questions? Yes.
So I've seen a lot of vendors use transitions for singing faces as opposed to suppress when not singing. Is there a difference between those two, or?
No, it's personal preference.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, generally what I'll do again, it's how does it look? Because sometimes, okay, like let me give you an example. Tom Bad George. Tom will, when the person's not singing, he'll drop out the face, on his pumpkins or whatever he's got. He or his trees or his pumpkins, when they're not singing, he drops them out. Even if it's for just a short time, and then right before they start singing again, he'll bring them back in. Again, it's just kind of a preference. There's really no right or wrong. That's the great thing about this hobby. We'll sit there and be sitting in our cul-de-sac watching the show, and I'll be gnashing my teeth because I see a pixel that's out, and and nobody else sees it, but we do. All right, anything else before I move on? All right, the next thing I want to talk about, this is kind of a crazy topic, and people don't talk about it a whole lot, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the off command. Reason why, because the off command is a whole lot more useful than you might think. Let me give you an example here. I'm going to take these snowflakes. I've got this spiral on the snowflakes. Let me reverse it. I don't like the counterclockwise. Okay, so I've got clockwise. Now, let me eliminate the layer blending on those. I'm taking off the in and the out. Okay, we just got that effect. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. Okay, now I'm going to take every other one and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Okay, now let me talk to you a little bit about this flipping horizontally. It's in layer settings, and I will flip horizontally. And one of the reasons why I do that is, okay, now you'll go from here, and then the other one should, oh, I didn't do the bulk setting. This one, bulk edit, flip horizontal. Okay, now Okay, it goes clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. All right, let's say I wanted that to be subject to a slow fade. Now, one of the problems you have with that is, okay, all right, let's say you start this one at 100, then you got to go in and set the brightness on that one, say at 70, and then 50 and 40 and 30. That's a little bit of a hassle. So what you can do is you can put the off command above that. And now what I'm going to do as the transition, I am going to, let me see, that goes to 40 to probably about 55 or so. So I'm going to in transition that fade. See where I'm at 8 seconds. No, not far enough. Tried at 10 seconds. No, not enough. 11 seconds. 14's too far. 13's okay. Okay, so now what's going to happen, because this is set to normal, what it's going to do is it plays. What's happening is that fade is slowly being brought in. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can do with the off command is when you have repeating effects like that and you're going to have a fade or something like that, you can actually put that above the effects, and instead of having to, you know, set some sort of gradual fade that will never be perfect on those, you can use the off effect for that. So that's one thing that you can do with the off effect that's kind of cool. Another thing, let me get over here. I'll use the spinners this time. I'm going to eliminate the out transition. Set that to 0. Okay, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put the off command there. I'm going to make sure that it's butted up against it. I'm going to make it transparent, and then I'm going to go to the layer settings, and I'm going to tell it to make it persistent. Okay, not getting what I want. I know why, hang on. Okay, there we go. Have to have it matched up with the other one. Okay, now it's going to go through. Okay, and I just froze it. Oops. All right, so this is the old way that people used to be able to freeze things. If you'll notice up here in the layer blending, there is also a way to freeze the effect at a given frame. All right, and you can use that, but what I found is that even if I calculate, you know, the frames per second and how long the effect is and that sort of stuff, sometimes it's hard. I end up inching it in, you know, frame at a time, frame at a time, frame at a time to get it. And I've just found that using the off effect and making it persistent will get me where I want to be quicker. So anyway, that's another way that you can use the off effect that makes it kind of neat. And you can freeze effects. Another thing that you can do, not with all effects, but I'm going to show you this here. Okay, this is set to layer blending. It is set to normal. Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. Now, the way that the pinwheel works, once you set a speed, it's going to stay at the same speed. Okay, and take this transparent. I'm going to take that off. Not doing it for me. Let me reverse that. Make that layered. Okay, it freezes, but the one above it is still going. And when that ends, then they start moving again. And the reason why it works there at that transition is because this is actually going at the same speed as that one is. So wherever that is, and if you wanted to make sure that it's completely matched up, you could slide that back and forth and make sure that it perfectly matches up. So the first one I've got to set where it's layered. Got a second one underneath it. So what that lets you do is and it doesn't work with every effect because not all of them are set the same. Some effects, like if this were the fan effect, the speed of rotation is determined by the length of the effect itself. So you'd have to calculate what the speed of the one on top has to be to match the speed of the second one, the one underneath. A little more math. I try to shy away from math as much as I can. But anyway, so you can actually, in that way, stop an effect and then start it up again by running parallel effects, one above the other. Like I said, it gets more complicated when the speed of the effect is actually affected by its length. All right, now let me delete all that. Well, now let me leave it where it's at. We delete this. Take these things, and I'm just going to shift them over. Not really tied to any timings. All right, so we've got this right here. Let me go in here and I'm going to add in a timing track. And what I'm going to add in is the bars, and it's going to have 4 beats per bar. Okay, so I'll pick up a few of those. Now this is something I'm going to go into the layout. I haven't done this on this one, but I'm going to select this and I'm going to make this create a group. And we will call this all props. Okay. And now I'm going to clone that. And let's call that all props. I'll rename it. I'm going to call it all props override. Probably not spelled right on override, but oh well. Okay, let me save that. Let's go back to the sequencer. I'm going to go up to edit the display elements. Now I'm going to take the all props. I'm going to put it at the top where it should be. And the all props override. See if I can get it to do it. I'm going to put it at the very bottom because what it's going to do is it's actually going to override everything here. All right, so now I'm going to go down to this override. Now, the way that the render order works, remember the stuff on the bottom is going to override the stuff on the top. So we've got an in transition there. So I'm going to take the off command and put it here. make it very short, put another one in here, and I will tell it to match up the lengths. You do an alignment of duration. So now I know they're both the same. Let me make sure I'm where I want to be. I'm going to render this because it does change things a little bit. Okay, now when I come up here and I play this, let me. Okay, did you see the negatives? Obviously, they were too long for what I was doing. But by putting those in that override, now I can go in and actually, and let me add in the beats just so we can see what it looked like. Okay, now we've got beats. Again, I'm going to match the duration. Okay, so now I have put in negatives there. So let's go ahead, and we got a lot more to cover, so I can do some more. And I'm just hitting Control V to copy those over. All right, again, I'm just going to render it to make sure we get it. Okay, now let's hit play. Okay, so now instead of flashing, we actually have the negatives. And that's really good. For example, you know, a lot of times when you have a lot going on, if you got a large display with a lot of things going on, you start flashing whites at people, it becomes overwhelming. So a good alternative is negative like that. So you know, you can use that override. All my sequences have overrides, but it's not a big deal. You just copy your everything group and put it on the override. If you don't want it to override, say, your matrix or your tree, you can eliminate those from the group and just put it on there. Okay, again, before I move on that one, because we covered some kind of different things, any questions on anything there?
Again, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. Nothing in chat except the last question from Mark.
Yeah, Mark, you're absolutely right. The bottom's going to trump the top. I blame that on the lead sequencer being from Australia.
Right, and that's the difference between layers and regular one, right? Layers go bottom to up, everything else goes top to bottom.
Right, right.
Confusing as heck.
It is, but you know, it's kind of funny. You can, you know, you can do things so many different ways. For example, you know, if you didn't want to use an override like I did, you could take that, you know, and do it on one prop, just add a layer at the top, do it on one prop, and then cut and paste it on every prop. But if you can do it with one set instead of 10, why not do it with one set? Okay, any other questions? Mark's having trouble unmuting.
There it is. So you just mentioned something, and I'm sorry if this is too basic a question, but layers work with the bottom being priority, and the models and everything else work from the top priority.
Okay, just so all right, let me go through the way that I remember it. Okay, when you are talking everything, right? Your whole display, right? Not individual models or anything like that, right? Okay, what we're talking about is bottom trumps top. That's when you have everything. Okay, now on a model in the submodels, bottom trumps top. So those two are the same itself. Now on an individual prop with the layers, your layer settings are going to determine the priority. Okay, if you leave it at normal, it's going to be, the first line is going to have priority on down. So just think of it that way. Overall display, bottom trumps top. Submodels, bottoms trump top. Layers, use the layer blending to determine who trumps what, or what trumps what, who, what they see.
Right, thank you. I'm a little used to video editing software where that's a little different.
Yep. Becky just typed something in chat that just summarized what I said. Okay, any other questions before I move on? All right, so now.
Question for you, yes. How do you, in the showstopper spinner, how do you pick one of the submodels that's in it? I mean, how do you put that effect on the sequence? I mean, because underneath the showstopper spinner, there's like 100 different submodels.
Right.
So how do you select that submodel to be in your sequence?
Well, when you download the model, all those submodels are in there.
Okay.
In other words, and if it's not, with our sequences anyway, and I'm bad about this, I'm sorry, but I'll add a submodel if I think it makes the overall prop better. But if I do that in every one of our sequences, there is a subdirectory called models, and I will put that model in there. And what you can do is in your layout, you can go to the submodels for whatever. And if you go to the submodel, let me go down here to one. Okay, if you go to the submodel groups, okay, and you can go to import, and then you just import it from the file.
Okay.
And then you just select the one that's missing and it'll bring it in. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because, it's funny. I can't see people's faces. That's the only thing I don't like about Zoom teaching is that, there's no visual feedback for me. So. Okay. Any other questions?
Michael, as long as you're showing that right there, quick question for you.
Yeah.
I see on some of your sequences and stuff, do you suggest always to try to make as many of the submodels into groups versus having them stand alone? Or do you have a general sense on either which way that should go?
Yeah, I do. Okay. General rule is for me. Now, and again, it is just for me. I don't like a whole lot of submodels out there because what happens, when you go to the sequencer, if you create groups, okay, right now, and I don't know if you can see it really well, but I've got the show spinner expanded and I've got it broken up, a whole spinner, and you can see I've got all the submodels numbered, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if I double click that goes away. Okay, I don't have to deal with all those groups. So my philosophy is, in terms of efficiency and what makes it easier for people to do and stuff like that is, don't clutter up the sequencing area more so than necessary. you know, you want to keep that group as I guess as lean as possible.
Okay.
You know, so, but here's when you have to do it. Let me give you an example. Let me go to the layout, and if we go to the showstopper spinner, we go down here and show you the one I'm talking about. Okay. The spiders that are in it's easier over here to see it. Okay, the spiders itself. You'll notice that there is no submodel in here for spiders. Okay, and the reason why is the way that xLights handles overlapping pixels in submodels. Okay, let me show you spider 1. Spider 1 is like that. Spider 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, it just rotates around. All right. If I were to combine these, and I can, you could hit Shift key, right click, and I can join them, and I can call it spiders and tell it okay. Save that. Come over to the sequencer, expand that out, and I go down to that new it's going to be at the bottom. If I go down to this spiders and I put something on there, the dropout is crazy. I'm just going to put on the on command. Well, let me do it this way. Let me put in a line command. Okay, you'll notice only one of them actually looks like a spider. That's because the first model, the first submodel in there gets to claim all the pixels, and it drops out on all the others. All right, so in that instance, you would actually go in and take these spider submodels and create a model outside the prop. And by doing that, you don't have that pixel dropout because they're each considered an individual model when you create a model outside of the spinner. So you will see these extra ones down here at the bottom on the showstopper spinner. Let me get in here. Go down to the submodels. Okay, and you'll see after we get past the numbered ones, you've got spider, cascading arches, circles, petals, oysters. Okay, those are the ones where by just looking at it, we determined that there was significant enough dropout that somebody may want to create a model outside of the prop itself. If you don't ever intend doing that, you can delete all those. And it won't impact anything else that you have except for like, it won't impact anything else because it's already taken care of in these upper models. So that's why not every submodel is broken out that way, because there's just not enough pixel dropout. Because, you know, the first instance, like on that spider, the first one in that got all the pixels, and then the rest of them got dropouts all the way through. That's why you couldn't see spiders. Hope that makes sense.
Yep, that does. That actually explains it very well. Thank you.
Hey, Michael, quick question. When you say take the submodels and create a model, do you mean create a group of those submodels?
Yes. I'm sorry, a group, not a model.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, a group. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Any other questions? Back to you, Michael.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to go back to the sequencer, and we're going to talk a little bit about value curves, because value curves are a great way to tie effects directly to whatever music you have. And I'm going to use what I've got here. Let me shrink this up because we're not going to use that right now. I can. Okay, and I'm going to focus in on the mega tree. Let me eliminate all these. All right, go down here on the mega tree, and what I've got dominant here is the beats. And what I will tell you, when you do this, you need to make sure that your timing mark is selected, the one that you want to tie the music, tie the effect to. All right, so let me go in here on the mega tree. Let me insert some layers to work with. All right, and I'm going to put on a spiral. Get too carried away. I'm going to eliminate that. We're just going to make it red and white. Drop the thickness down. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the value curves themselves, and I'm going to tie that that spiral to the beats, which is what's highlighted there. Okay, you'll see when I call up the value curve dialog that the beats are actually on there. All right, so let me count them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, let me make my life easier. I'm going to drop it down to 16. Okay, and again, I'm in the spiral wraps. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to apply sawtooth to it. And there are 16 beats that I'm going to cover, and I'm going to cut that in half. So now I've got 8. What I will tell you just from experience, you'll see that it's at the top and the bottom. We're at the 30. Those are the spirals. It will happen so fast that it won't be meaningful. So I'm going to reduce this down to a -3 and then a +3. Okay, doesn't look real dramatic. Okay, but now okay, so you know, if I adjust the movement's going to be a little faster because of the song. I'll try it around 15, see what it looks like. Okay, pretty cool. We're tied to the music now. Let me show you something. This is a trick that I stumbled upon. Really great. It works out really well. If you come over here, you see how it kind of looks like the bottom's grabbing and then twisting the top. All right, so let's go ahead and let's make that, let's flip it vertically. Now it's more of a twirling motion, right? Let me take this, I'm going to copy it, put it here, paste it, and now what I'm going to do with that, we've got both of them. I'm going to rotate it 180. Little different than flipping it vertically. So now here's what we've got. Okay, pretty cool, easy to do. You know, you just got to decide what you want to tie it to. And then the other thing that I will tell you, I found that the movement doesn't work really well doing that. But you can get a really nice effect using the spiral wraps and changing the spiral wraps by tying it there. Now, value curves. What are they? Well, value curves are a way to change a value over time. And you have built-in ones that you can use. Those come automatically with it. So, you know, those are across the bottom there. You can also use some of the ones here. Here's what I do sometimes, and it works pretty well. Let's say if I wanted to, let me find something here. Ramp up and down. Okay, if I were to do that, that would be pretty dramatic, even over time. Okay, it's built in. It gives it a different look. If I were to do both of them that way, it might be too much. Not too bad. What I don't like is, you know, when the spirals get too close together, sometimes it looks like muddy water. But that's not too bad. What might be better for something like that? Let me switch over to the bars. And now we've got that. I would probably change that over to, let's just change it to a custom. And once you change it to a custom, you can move those points where you want to. All right, so it's going to be just a little faster. All right, so you can manipulate things that way. So it's changing value over time. Now, also in there, and I'll show you this one because it does work with this, there is a music track fade proportional. So what it's going to do, you know, you can put that on music. Let's take a look at what that does, and then I'll show you the other one. Change it to music itself. Come on. Okay, that ties it into the music. For me, the result is a little too frenetic, too much movement. It just doesn't seem, you know, natural or fun or anything like that. It's just, it's almost hectic. Something like that might work really good with, you know, a rock song for Halloween. But let me show you one where I found where I can manipulate it a little bit and get a result that I do like by tying it into the music. And that was the timing track fade. We'll do fixed. And again, what we're going to do is we are going to reduce these values down to a minimum. And we get to select our timing track. And I'm going to do the bars first to see what it looks like. And let me do the same thing with that one. Okay, timing track is bars. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, it's only tied into the bars, so it's hitting every fourth beat. So let me go back into that. And we're going to change it to the beats on that one. And see what we get when we got one, switch to the beats. And you see the bottom one, still every fourth one. Let me change that one to beats. Now they both should be doing the same thing. Okay, and I'm gonna change that where I'm gonna make one of them red and the other one white. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, not bad. I think if you made them 3D, now you've actually got something that's pretty cool. If you put a color wash on it and faded the color wash underneath it, you got a neat little thing that's tied into it. But you can, tie your value curves directly to the music, and it makes your effects a lot neater. Okay. Any questions about the value curves? I mean, there are entire, hour-long classes just on that. But before then, let me go ahead and see if there are any questions before I move on to the next thing.
You should be able to unmute yourself and ask a question. Doesn't look like.
One of the questions was, where do we open the value curve screen? Did you see that? It's actually the arrow, the green arrow next to whatever parameter in the dialog is. So there's one here, one here, one here, and one here. You could go in and add the value curves there.
And you can also save them, right? Once you create something that you like,
You
you can
c-
save
yes,
the
you
value
can.
curves and retrieve them.
You can. I always have a fear because I do so many things that if I use presets and if I use, the same value curve and things like that again and again and again, it'll make it look like my sequences are too repetitive. And so what I try to do is I try to stay away from that as much as I can.
Do you find it in your sequencing just do hours and hours and hours of trial of a time and trial and effect and error, and which effect that you pick that works the best for what you're trying to achieve? As because you look, there's 30 different effects now. If you just picked piano, obviously that's not going to do what you want it to do, is it? Or
Yeah, and again, that kind of gets back to, what problem am I dealing with? I mean, I'm not going to put a piano on probably anything but a matrix, and it depends on the prop, and it depends on the music. I mean, you're starting the Journey song, and it's PPD recently did that one. Starts off with a piano. yeah, it makes sense to make to use the piano effect on that. And so that the music drives it. And the other part of it is there's certain things I like. I like, every sequencer develops his or her style. And, to an extent, that style is part of that style, I should say, is, what effects we like to use with certain props. Great thing is there's no wrong answer. It's basically, whatever works for you. But you're right, it does take time. Like I said, on average, I'll give you an idea of what my typical day is. I'm an early riser. I get up 4 or 5 and I sequence until about 10 o'clock. I will break for about 4 hours, and then I will sequence from probably like 2 or 3 until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I do that Monday through Friday. And, if I'm on a deadline, Saturday and Sunday kicks in. So yeah, a lot of time, a lot of seat time. That's why when you see me, you go, God, that guy's fat. That's because I'm sitting all the time.
I have a quick question. So if you have a song and there's an individual instrument that's playing a tune and you like that kind of beat that instrument is playing, is that when you would set your own timing mark and manually click it to the beat that you want?
Yes, I mean, particularly if it's an instrument that's not drums. Drums are usually, they follow right along with the timing marks. Either directly on them or directly in between them. So let's say you've got something like, a trumpet or something. Yeah, I'll go in and I, on mine, I'll add a timing mark called flourishes, and it could be anything. It might be trumpets one place, it might be bells another. But it gives me something again to hang that effect on. And so timing marks are extremely important.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
One more.
Yeah.
Has anyone by chance published a xLights workbook, say called something like Sequencing One Song for Dummies 101?
No, but it's probably a great idea. It really is.
Well, and the only reason why I'm asking is I play around with xLights only, I'd say 4 months out of the year. And if somebody published that, I bet you they would make a significant amount of money so that us who don't work full time can get up running, and assuming that the workbook would cover a significant portion in one song of sequencing, layering, rendering, etc.
Yeah. I agree. I think that would be a great idea for everybody. I've also thought about, just doing a series of just little video snippets, just, one effect on a prop and just building a library over time. The issue you have, of course, is the upfront time that it takes to do that. And, maybe now that we're getting into some AI that can help with those types of things, it might be something, it might be something that would benefit people. Basically just what you said right there, just, go through one song and show people how you do it.
Is there AI incorporated into xLights now? Is there
No, there's not. It would be something that you would have to work on your own.
Yep.
Somebody had mentioned, I guess, Maze's AI to break things down. Moises AI. I've actually got a subscription to it. It's a whopping $3 a month. But it's very handy. What Moises AI does is it breaks down a song, an MP3, into voice, drums, piano, string instruments, you know, a variety, even backup singers. It's got a variety of parameters, and it will help you. And supposedly it's an AI that does it. It does a great job. It's not perfect, but I think it does a great job.
What was the name of that AI again?
It's Moises AI. It's MOISES.ai. Moises AI.
Alex put it in chat.
Yeah, it's in chat.
So in theory, it's breaking out the recording channels.
Right. And it does a good job. It really does. I found it really helpful with songs that are orchestral, because it's really hard when you have a lot of string sections going at once to be able to break it down, and isolating those makes it a whole lot easier for me to identify start and stop points on strings. Usually it's your older song, your slower songs, and sometimes a lot of the older songs are more musical. You know, nowadays, in terms of music, a lot of the production is actually in the singer's voice and not so much in the music. You know, if you listen to them, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on there. But the old timey songs, you know, they had a lot of flourishes. You know, they're playing xylophones and all kinds of weird things. Okay, any other questions before I move on?
Mike, I think we are almost at the 10-minute mark for the class, right?
Let me see. Yeah, I'm at 1:48. Let me do one more thing. I think I can do it fairly quickly since we've had questions as we went. And then I'll try to wrap it up so we have 5 more minutes for questions at the end for people. And what I want to cover for you is the 2D curves. Well, let me do something different. What I'm going to do is I want to talk a little bit about oversizing and undersizing a buffer. I switched layouts to our store layout. I'm going to show you something that's really pretty cool. We're going to the sequence. I'm going to create just an animated sequence, new animation. Okay, I got my single timing mark there. What I'm going to show you is what I call undersizing the render buffer. The render buffer, if you go to the layer settings, is this black area here. And you can go in and edit the size of it. You can divide it into halves, thirds, quarters, etc. I'm going to show you something that I've come across that I really enjoy doing. It's my mega tree here. Just insert some layers. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a color wash on there. And that color wash, what I'm going to do is color wash lets you put a horizontal fade on there. And what I'm going to do is I'll put on some sparkles. Now I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use twinkles. And the reason why is because with the twinkle, I can kind of control the speed. Whereas with the sparkles, they're just really fast. I'm going to set this layer setting to layered. And the sparkles, the twinkles themselves, I'm going to increase the twinkle steps to about 70. So they're pretty slow on that. Okay, now on the color wash, I am going to go into the layer settings. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to edit the left. And what I'm going to do with the left, I believe I have to increase. Let's see, let's try it at 15. And the right, I have to decrease. By 15. Okay, now you'll see now that the color wash portion got very small. And the sparkle section, because its render buffer is full, you can see how the sparkles are actually outside of the tree. Now, when it gets really cool doing that is when, let's say we put some snowflakes on there. Let me change the snowflakes to type 2, so they're a little bigger. Okay, now look at what the snowflakes are doing. Let me make it as big as I can for you. Okay, if you see it, the snowflakes look like they are actually falling outside of the tree itself. You can also, let me add in this, decrease the thickness significantly. We're gonna make it 3D, make it a little bigger. We're gonna increase the spirals. Okay, now the perception is that the spirals and the snowflakes and everything are actually outside the tree itself. Okay, so that's a little technique I call undersizing the render buffer. And that's the most useful thing I found for it. Okay, so with that, that gets us pretty close to final question time for this session. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, somebody put up the surprise face. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is.
Go ahead, guys. Now is your chance.
All right, we have another 7 minutes. So let me do something else real quick. Hang on. Oh, somebody said they can't unmute. Brad Mayfield.
Oh, there it is. Can you bulk edit those green arrows? So if you
Yes,
have
no, because you can only do one at a time. Well, no, I take that back. Yes, you can. For example, if you had 2 where you were going to do the same thing to, you absolutely can bulk edit them.
I noticed you were doing them each individually both times.
I did, but yeah, you should be able to bulk edit them. Let me add another one of these on here, see if I can get to it. So I've got 2 of those. And we're gonna flip horizontal. Yeah, see, it's letting me bulk edit. So if I go in there, I can change the spiral wraps, you know, and do a sawtooth, and it's going to apply to both of them. See, it affected both of them right there on the spiral wraps.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, 5 minutes. I got to hurry on this, but I'm going to show you something real quick that's very cool. Let me delete that, maybe. Okay, now, all right, so next thing I'm going to do, we are going into the tools and we're going to generate a 2D path. And with the 2D path, what you can do is you can go in and by double clicking, you can create a path. I'm going to put this in the middle, and I'm not going to make it real pretty because of time limitations. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate, and I'm going to call this one a class swirl. And now I have a class swirl for this. So I'm going to close that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the very top, and select everything. Everything but my starburst. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on meteors. I'm going to change it from rainbow to the palette, which is red and white, or should be red and white. And instead of down, I'm going to make it explode. And then on the horizontal offset, I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the X for the circle. I got to find it here. Okay, that's class swirl X. Okay. Class swirl Y. Okay, got that selected. Maybe. Tell it okay. I'm going to reduce the tail length on these. Reduce the count. And I'm going to reduce the speed. Reduce the length so you can actually see what's happening here. Okay, you see it's following the swirl. I'm going to start a layer below that. I'm going to take that and just copy it in. I'm going to align the start and the stop. And then I am going to flip it horizontally. And this is what you get. Okay, real easy way to make some nice special effects by making your own little curves using the 2D curves. And that's the last thing that I have time for. Any other questions beyond that? All right, fantastic. Thank you all very much for spending some time with me.